Since it's Sunday, I figured I'd make spaghetti and meatballs for dinner. I don't have tomato sauce. Usually it's like a big can of this it says tomato sauce, not puree. Usually it just comes with a couple of extra little ingredients in it. But since I only have puree to work with, the sauce is going to take a little bit longer than usual. I am using a 28-ounce can. I'll probably use about a half of this Vidalia onions, just because I have Vidalia onions. I mean, regular old yellow onion. You know, probably like one medium-sized yellow onion, or this is just a big honker, so I'm going to use half of it. Most likely a couple of cloves of minced garlic, probably like 3 or 4. I picked a couple of things from the garden. See, I got, look at this cornucopia. Check that out. I got some parsley that I'm going to put at the end. I have some basil I picked from the garden. I'm also growing fresh oregano. If it wasn't for the fact that I was growing this, I wouldn't bother. But since I have it, I'm also going to use dry oregano in it as well. So that's the stuff that I'm using for the sauce. This is... Aww. So first thing I'm going to do is dice up my veggies. Putting the burner to medium heat. It's probably about 2 teaspoons of olive oil. I'm starting off with onions, salt, pepper, thyme, and oregano. I'm starting to hear a sizzle on these. So I'm just going to sweat these out a little bit until they turn a little bit translucent before I add my garlic. This looks like about a full cup worth of diced onions. This is probably overkill. You could most likely get away with a lot less than this. These onions look pretty good. I'm going to throw this in now. Bloop, bloop. Boop-a-leep-a-boop-a-leep. Zoop-a-lop-a-boop-a-loop. Computer, play the song Angelina, the Waitress at the Pizzeria by Louis Prima.
This is Louis Prima from Spotify.
That is not what I asked you. Okay, that's hilarious. That song is very offensive. Gotta love the 50s. I'm starting to smell that garlic. It wasn't long. It's less than a minute. I'm gonna dump this in. First I'm gonna get all that good stuff off of the lid. Come on, get in there. I'd probably put like another teaspoon of salt. This is probably about a teaspoon of black pepper, teaspoon of oregano, maybe a little bit less than a teaspoon of thyme. Tell me you love me. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, 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 wah. I'm Sammy. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah. I got 4 basil leaves here that I am going to try and finely mince. And I'm going to throw it in there, into the sauce. I'll finish the sauce with more fresh basil. I'm hoping that the basil gives it enough sweetness that I don't have to put any sugar in it. But we'll see. If not, I'll probably just throw in a very small amount of sugar just to make it taste less like somebody screwed up Mexican salsa and more like what you imagine a marinara sauce is supposed to taste like. In you go. I'm going to lower the heat now. Cover it. This isn't the right lid for this thing, but it kind of fits. It's been sitting on the burner now with all this stuff in it for, I don't know, less than 10 minutes. I'm going to put a little more salt. Putting about a teaspoon of sugar in there. And coming it back up. I actually wound up putting a little bit more sugar in it because it still tasted a little bit too acidic. I'm going to also add a little bit more oregano and thyme. This is less than a teaspoon, I'd say. And this is about a half a teaspoon of thyme. I have this on super duper low heat with the top on, with the lid on, and it's it still bubbles at super duper low heat. It's just been cooking for like about 45 minutes now, I'd say. If I was using tomato sauce instead of tomato puree, this would have been done already. I'm tasting it. I think I got it a little too sweet. I'll put a little more salt in it. Probably like half a teaspoon salt. I think I'll put some more pepper in it too. It's gonna need a lot of love. Bloop. Let's see how that is. Man, it's too sweet now. What am I gonna do about that? I'm gonna try and fix my screw up by putting a little bit of red wine vinegar in here, and hopefully that'll help. It's half a teaspoon. It was too acidic, and now I'm adding acid to fix up my adjustment to the acidity. I'm sure Italian nonnas everywhere are turning in their graves. Let me see here. Well, by golly, I think that might have done it. It no longer tastes like some crap that comes in a jar. I'm just gonna let that sit for a little while longer. Just giving it a stir. It's been cooking for over an hour now. That's pretty good. I'm gonna shut this off and keep it covered. I think that the sauce I could probably use, now that I had shut off the heat, I could use a little more fresh herbs, like the basil. Let's see, I've got 4 nice cleaned leaves. So I just rolled it up. I'm making ribbons. I'd say it's like about a tablespoon and 2 teaspoons. I'm gonna dump this in the sauce. This is fresh oregano. I think a little bit of this stuff goes a long way. I probably don't want to get too crazy with it. A little bit less than a teaspoon, I'd say. And I'm gonna put a little parsley in there too. It's like a heaping teaspoon. I think I may have made a mistake. Within like less than a minute, look what happened to my basil. It turned black. Wow. It's kind of sad. So this is my spaghetti and meatball dinner that I made, and I put, as you can see, a very generous amount of that sauce on top of my spaghetti and meatballs. So after all of that and all of the seasonings that I put in, too much sugar, and then tried to adjust with the vinegar, it still needed a little salt. So whatever you saw me put in there, minus the extra teaspoon of sugar and the vinegar, it still needed a little bit, just a little bit of salt, and that's all it really needed to bring out all of the flavors And it was a very yummy sauce that was made with a lot of love and a lot of bitterness and a lot of Louis Prima. I hope you liked this video, and I hope that you might give my spaghetti and meatballs video as well a chance. Buon appetito, or as I like to say, bone apple teeth.